What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Cha-Ching, the Silver Spike by Glen Cook. So, guys, this is going to be another Black Company book. There is some issues. I can't really say it's book number 4, though we are approaching it as book number 4 here in our read-along that we're having down in the Discord. I'll leave a link in the description. So anyway, there's a lot kind of going around this book because people are like, oh, it's not a Black Company book. It's a spinoff. Or you need to read it at this point or that point. You know, people love it or hate it. There's a lot going on with this book, and I want to get into it. But before we get into it, I just gotta say too, remember guys, there will be spoilers for the previous books, and that will be the Books of the North. The first 3 books in the Black Company series, it's just kind of hard to go deep into a series without kind of touching on stuff that has happened. All right? All right. Let's get into it. Okay, so here in the Silver Spike, we are following some of the cast and crew that we've come to know, but it's not Croker and crew, right? And this is one of the main reasons why people say this is a spin-off book and not a Black Company book. But I still kind of disagree there just because I do feel like, you know, the people that we've met along the way, maybe whether they're in the company or not, are still pretty integral to this story. And definitely along the way, we want some answers. That, you know, Cook has created some questions in these first 3 books. And as the reader, I do think that we kind of do need some form of closure or some kind of filling in of said gaps before we move south. And this is one of the main reasons why I choose to read Silver Spike directly after White Rose. I do think the further you get away from the Books of the North, the more the Silver Spike begins to feel like an afterthought instead of like this really juicy piece of fucking steak that Cook is giving you. Because let's face it, guys, this thing is such a fast-paced ride. At times, it can feel like Glen Cook is just flicking you bones. But here in Silver Spike, he's really giving the reader something to chew on. Now, as far as the actual story of the Silver Spike, a lot of it revolves around, well, a silver spike. After the events of the White Rose, we know that the Dominator has been defeated, but his essence is basically infused into this silver spike, and it's been like embedded into the God Tree's sapling. Okay, so now we know that a lot of this book is going to revolve around that spike because whoever basically is going to possess it is going to be the new Dominator, whether they know this or not. Now, one of the groups and perspectives we get are the Spike Thieves. Now, these characters are new to us as the reader, and they're interesting because they're definitely rough around the edges. But one of the things I really love about the Spike Thieves is it really brings this perspective of what people are willing to do for some financial gain. The shit that they'll go through, the horrors that they will witness, you know, and put themselves through, all in the sake for money. Another new perspective that we'll get is going to be the Narrator Chase. Now, we know that Croker's gone, so we're not getting the story narrated through Croker's eyes. Instead, we're getting another rough around the edges character in Chase. And I will say, I think personally that sometimes Chase's narration style is a bit darker than Croker's. But I will also say this about Chase. As we push forward in the story, we begin to kind of reveal that Chase is the kind of character that is a true friend. One that will try his hardest to help you find a solution instead of watching you sit in your own problems. And speaking of problems, this book has a lot to do with both Raven and Darling and their issues between their relationship. You know, one could easily say that Darling was shaped by Raven. You know, he basically raised this girl from a very young age to a woman, and they've had their, you know, falling out, so to speak, that we've seen in the White Rose. Well, here in the Silver Spike, we really get to kind of explore that some, and we will get to see even more exploration into that question mark character of Raven. And I really do appreciate this because I think this is where Glen Cook kind of presents something to the reader where you kind of understand that, man, you have X amount of time to take care of certain issues and problems and make amends. And after so much time, well, your time may have run out. My favorite perspectives in the book, though, are definitely going to be the Limper and Toad Killer Dog. These guys just fucking rock, dude. I love the Limper. He is definitely one of my favorite bad guys of all fantasy books. Like, he just is kind of like the Terminator. No matter what the fuck you do, he just keeps coming and coming and coming at you, dude. And it's just always a nightmare-fueled series of events that unfold. And I love it. But as far as Toad Killer Dog, I really want to touch on Toad Killer Dog because we were introduced to Toad Killer Dog in The White Rose. And personally, I didn't really care about Toad Killer Dog. It wasn't like it was an addition to the story, but it wasn't one that I was like, yes. But here in the Silver Spike, actually getting to spend some time inside the mind of Toad Killer Dog, understanding the motivation, seeing the treatment of Toad Killer Dog, man, one could really get behind him. And I did. And this is one of the reasons why I really appreciate and praise the Silver Spike, because like I said, Glen Cook finally gives us something to chew on, and now I've sat and I have understanding, and I'm just way more on board with some of these characters that might have seemed more just like background, noise. One thing I think the Silver Spike does better than the previous 3 books is really the pacing. Where in the first 3 books, the pacing is really fast, kind of neck-breaking pace, where it can feel jarring and confusing to you at times just because the amount of shit that's happened and being thrown at you at such, rapid succession. But here in the Silver Spike, we're confined to certain events. We're chewing on certain information as well as we're reflecting on what has already happened. The perspectives just kind of hit at the right times, and the story moves forward at an easy peasy pace, which I feel like a lot of readers can get on board, especially maybe after being frustrated in the previous 3 books. Another thing here in the Silver Spike that I feel can go either way with readers is, one, Glen Cook is very imaginative, and he just throws crazy stuff at you in each book. So like each book, it's kind of fun to anticipate what he's going to throw at you next. What crazy shit is he going to cook up next time? But here in the Silver Spike, it's not necessarily like we're getting anything new. Some of the stuff in the things that happen with the Limper are kind of new-ish, but realistically, we're not going to be, unveiling a whole new creature, monster, chunk of the world, or anything like that. So for some people, they get a little disappointed that they didn't get something new or something, something bigger and better. But I will say personally, for me, I really enjoy being able to once again spend time with what he has created. I really enjoy the mantas and the wind whales and, the talking stone, Minier stones, and everything that he has just created. I feel like we finally get to spend that much more time with it. So once again, like I said, it stops being background noise or just kind of maybe not as important. It really becomes this breathing part of this world that he created, and now we're enjoying. So my 2 cents for the slow and the struggling is, yes, the Silver Spike is definitely for you. In fact, I think out of the 4 books we've read, this one's the easiest one to, start and finish, digest, all of that. Of course, we have some knowledge, right? So, the further you push into any series, some of the books begin to become easier reads just because of your vast knowledge of the series. Not that we have vast knowledge yet. We're just out of the north, guys. But either way, I don't think that Glen Cook has thrown anything your way that's going to sidewind you, catch you off guard. In fact, he's hit you with much harder stuff beforehand. So this one, like I said earlier, is a breeze, guys. You're going to get through it with no issues. The only thing I could see is just because this might not be some people's favorite because you're not with the company. Like I said, I just will encourage you to get out there and don't be afraid to spend time with people outside of the company. This world brings many colorful characters. And just, think about Marion Shed. Right? He was not a company man, but we loved reading about him when we first met him, didn't we? So just kind of apply that kind of, interest, and I guarantee you're going to love the Silver Spike. All right, guys. As always, thanks for spending some time down here at the channel and to Glen Cook. A gadoosh. Good on you, sir. Feet first, as I always say. There's no quitters in this gang. All right, guys, if you would like to join this read-along, these books are not that long, and there are plenty of us that have been reading them, and we can help you along. There is a link to the Discord in the description. Go ahead and hit us up if you want to get on this journey. But just remember, once you're in, you can't get out. All right, guys, if you're new, please like and subscribe. It does really help me grow the channel, and it's what we're doing here. All right? All right. You know what time it is. Bam.